All right, everybody, welcome back. I am joined live today by Dr. Lyndsay McCaslin. Am I saying that right?
You are saying it perfect.
From Tampa, Florida.
Yes.
Am I correct in saying Tampa?
Tampa, yes.
You actually live in Tampa?
No, I live in Odessa.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, I can't say you're from Tampa, Florida then. From Odessa, Florida.
Which is 10 miles north of Tampa, so
Which
you
is
can
10
pretty
miles,
much say
the Tampa area. I got you. Well, we got to have a little fun,
Okay.
you know. And Lindsay's here at one of our sleep apnea programs, second time in a couple of months, which is good. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the support. And we were having a conversation. I took her out for dinner with her and her assistant.
The world's best dinner.
Listen, you'll remember that, correct?
100%.
Listen, if I took you to a nice steakhouse, it would have probably been blah, right?
I would have been Mina Barsoom.
Right. But you're just seeing, it would have been no big deal, right?
You're right.
But you'll remember our dinner forever.
The
Where do
Philly
we go?
cheese steak truck.
Food truck in the parking lot of a gas station
Was
with
top notch.
with the Yankee dude that was mean to me selling Philly cheesesteaks.
You were kind of mean to him at
But
first.
of course, you know.
I mean, you had to be.
You have to be because he's from Philly. You got to test him out, right?
100%.
So we had a Philly cheesesteak, and then we went and had a great dessert place, though.
Great
by the
dessert.
way,
It wasn't
was
our
good.
birthdays, but
Everybody else's birthday there, right?
everybody else's.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I love. I love getting to meet new people, having repeat people, because then it gets, the first time you're not so comfortable, maybe going to dinner and stuff, but the second time I love going out to dinner with people. They let me know they're coming early. That's awesome. So it's enjoyable. So, I want to talk about your practice story. So, some brief questions, then I'm going to turn it over to you, okay? Briefly, how'd you become a dentist? How and why? How'd you go? What'd you figure out that you were going to do out of dental school? And where are you at now?
So at 12 years old, I was either going to be a dentist or a veterinarian.
Like, why?
And I love smiles, teeth, but I also loved animals.
Okay.
And so it was a 50-50 whenever I became a freshman in college. I became allergic to all cats, most dogs. And so dentistry was my other option.
I'm allergic to people.
I could be allergic to people now too. But so I switched I didn't really have to switch my major, but I still had the same major and graduated from dental school and was able to go to University of Kentucky. I graduated from University of Kentucky in 2006.
Dental school in 2006?
Yep.
Okay.
Started my practice as a solo partnership with my uncle down in Florida. That's how I ended up in
So did you
Florida.
know that in dental school that's what you wanted to do?
100%.
From the beginning?
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I stepped foot on the University of Kentucky's campus, I knew that Florida was where I was going.
With your uncle?
Yes. And even the dean let me out early to take early boards
For
to be
Florida,
able to get to Florida so I could graduate and actually practice. So it was one of those things that we had talked about it. He had a great practice. He was dentist number 16 in the county, was with two other partners. And basically he said, I've got a great practice, let's do this. I'll give you a chair. You can share hygienist, office manager, team, basically, and start your own practice. Okay. So I went there.
So you weren't really an associate?
I was not really an associate.
Where'd you get patients from? You stole his?
He thought I was going to steal his, but I didn't. Okay. No, I was out into everything. So junior service league, chamber, anything you
feet on the ground.
100% being on the ground, And so I worked hard to build my practice, and my goal was to own my own practice in 5 years. Okay. And after about 4 years or so, we were kind of having a family dinner, and the bubble burst in Florida. Right around 2007. Okay, so
economically,
economic dynamics. And so we were around dinner table, and he said something about he wasn't ready to retire. And I was kind of like, well, my goal was in 5 years.
You wanted to buy his practice?
I did originally, or wanted to buy into his practice. Being in the community, too, it wasn't necessarily the community that I felt like it was going to be, or it had been for the last 30 years for him. Right. That I felt like there was something more out there. And so I made a tough decision and went to him and said, I think I need to go out on my own.
But you were technically on your own already in a way, right?
I was.
You were just renting space in a way.
Basically, yeah, I was. Okay. I was. And, we had that last year had actually come up with the actual associate agreement type of thing. Okay. So that dynamic kind of changed, and that's fine. Things happen, and it should have been done in the very beginning, but
we
my
live and learn.
practice was growing. Exactly. And so
He was probably angry you were beating him, maybe, right?
maybe a little.
Maybe
We won't
a
let
little.
him know that,
Okay.
though.
He probably doesn't listen to podcasts.
You're probably right. So I went up to him and I said, financially, I feel like I need to own my own practice. My goals are I want to own my own practice. I still love my practice here. I think I can work 3 days here, and I want to work 3 days in my own practice. And so I worked 6 days a week for 4 years.
Okay, so in different county?
Yes,
Okay.
it was different county.
So what about the patients you had inside of your space share office?
Right. So about 50% of those patients, just because of timing. So I built my practice on evening hours and weekends.
Okay.
So I worked 3 Saturdays a month. And then did 9 to 7, 2 days, whether it was Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, it was 9 to 7. And
most people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah, but I tell you, it's the exact thing that grew my practice. 100%. That's what grew my practice.
Is being available.
Yes.
It's interesting. I'm sorry, a sidebar here.
No,
Okay.
of course.
I tell people that that we need to learn from the DSOs. And DSOs make their living by being convenient. Okay. You can go to McDonald's 24/7.
Yep.
Okay, you can go to Starbucks at 5 a.m. There's a wonderful coffee shop that I love here, but they're closed on Sundays. They don't open until 7 o'clock. They close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But if I need coffee at 8, Starbucks is open. If I need coffee at 6, Starbucks is open. I need coffee at 8 o'clock at night, Starbucks is open, right?
True.
And Starbucks is a DSO. And so you have to build your practice to a certain degree, or even kind of evolve your practice to what the community wants or what they're getting used to.
Exactly.
So anyway, sidebar there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I worked 6 days a week for the 4 years, and then decided, that my practice was doing well enough that I could take the leap of faith and actually go out just on my own. So
Okay.
whenever I started,
So what did you do with those patients? Did you buy them? Did you just gift
Nope,
them?
actually, because they were my patients, I basically gifted the ones that wanted to stay. It was
Okay.
kind of a little bit older, dynamic
Sure.
community, so they wouldn't necessarily travel.
Drive to Tampa, the big city.
Yeah, the big city.
Yeah.
10 miles outside of Tampa, don't forget. And so
That's the ocean.
almost the ocean. And so I went ahead and went out on my own and started with it was just myself. I had one, in the very beginning, obviously, the 4 years before, one assistant and one front desk. And I did my own cleanings. I started literally from scratch whenever I started in 2011.
How long did you have to do that?
I think probably in 4 months, I hired my first hygienist.
Okay.
And because I was only there the 3 days a week, but because of our hours, we were getting busy, especially on the Saturdays, So I think that was when I hired my first hygienist, was really for the Saturday, and then kind of trickled in.
What would you say to somebody that's afraid to work those hours?
I'd say that you're crazy not to work those hours.
Would you say I'm crazy right now not to have those hours at an established practice?
In an established practice, I'd say that if you're offering at least one Saturday a month, that's a huge benefit to your patients.
Okay.
I feel like that now that I've, been advanced in training and advanced now 13 years in practice, that still I don't necessarily want to give that up. I am now to my, as we now know, associate.
Well, we'll get to that, so let's not talk too much about that.
But it's, Saturdays is one of our very busiest days.
Okay.
It truly is. And if somebody misses and they don't give us a 48-hour appointment or
They
a
never get a
48-hour
Saturday.
notice, they
Okay.
don't get a Saturday again.
We do that with our 7
Yeah,
a.m.s.
that's our
We have 7 a.m.
policy.
twice a week, Tuesday and Friday.
Yeah. And so, if I always say that, I've got a lot of long-standing girls now that have been with me for a while, and they've worked every Saturday that I've worked.
Okay.
And, and if patients don't show up, it's also they're giving up time
Yeah.
with their family. They're
Yeah.
giving up time in their lives to be there for our patients. And that shows a lot, of course, of my employees. But the fact is that our patients have to value that as well.
So you believe, rightfully so in my opinion, that young practices and established practices need to proactively consider expanded hours.
I do. I've always been a worker.
Right.
I have a lot of passion for dentistry. I have a lot of passion for life. And I've always felt that if you do right by your patients, they're going to do right by you. And I feel like that there's always that person who really can't get there from 9 to 5, or 8 to 4
Sure.
or whatever on a Monday through Thursday.
It's called working people, by the way.
Exactly.
People with JOBs.
Ding, ding, ding. And so
it's like you trying to do an appointment at
100%.
4 o'clock. I can't do it, right?
Yeah. But we rehashed our schedule whenever I went straight to my practice. I'm off on Mondays, so we work the 2 Saturdays a month, and we're off on Sunday Mondays. And having Mondays off, our emergency day was always Tuesdays. So that was like not even, it was a no-brainer for us to just say, well, let's just be off Sunday, Monday instead. And so we're able, as, providers, to get our stuff done on Mondays, and still Tuesday became our day.
All right. So let me set the stage.
Yeah.
Okay. You went to dental school. You're obviously a driven person. You're obviously smart, all those things, okay? You're probably going to be successful no matter how you started, where you started, quite frankly, okay? You had the vision to understand what the community wanted, to be a little bit proactive there. You started from essentially scratch, okay? Yeah. And then now give us a sense, and you don't have to necessarily share numbers, but give us a sense of the size of your practice today. How many chairs? How many team members?
So I started off with, like I said, just the 3 of us, and I had 3 of my 5 ops built out in the first building I went to. So after about a year, I'd already had the 4th one built out. After a year and a half, probably 2 years, I had the 5th one built out. And then in 2016 is when I bought my building.
Your new building.
My new building.
Okay, so 2016. Right, so you had 5 operatories.
And I needed to expand.
My job is to make sure people understand what we're saying. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I apologize. So from essentially 2011 to 2015, 5 operatory practice. You grew to that. You got to a point where you thought you needed more space, so you actually needed more space. You probably went through some fears about buying a building, all of that, correct? 2016, you said?
Yep.
You bought a new building, and how big is that?
That building's about 3,800 square feet.
Okay, and how many ops?
8 ops.
8 ops. Do you think you can outgrow that?
I've already outgrown it.
Okay. If you had said that to you 3, 4, 3, listen, we're only talking 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, and that's when I've actually been in my building 2 years.
Okay.
And there's no way that I thought that it was going to happen that way.
Okay.
And
what's been the cause of that growth, you think?
Our community. We're active in the community. We're right beside the high school.
Hang back up. It's not your community. It's your activeness in the community. There's a big difference.
That's true.
Because we all live in a place where we have community, correct?
Yes, that's true.
It's how well we choose to engage and put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Right? And really, that's the hardest thing as humans, for most of us, is to put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Right? For me, like when I started speaking, it didn't come to me. I put myself out there.
Right.
And then things happened, right?
Yeah.
So you put yourself out in the community.
Put myself out in the community. Our patients started talking about us.
Did you ask them to talk about you?
Probably not, but probably yes.
Okay.
It's one of those things that tell your friends and family about me.
Yes, something so simple. It's not begging, is it?
And no, we're a beginning practice, and we want to be
I remember I
here.
used to feel like it was begging to ask for referrals. Yeah. You wanted them to think you were just so busy. It's just you wanted to fake this thing.
Yeah.
But people want to help you.
Yeah, they do. And now, I have patients that I've had for the last, even at my other practice, that came over and that have been my patients for 10, 12 years now.
Right.
They're like, I just can't believe you've grown this into
and
what
they're so
you
proud
have.
of you. So you're like the
exactly,
child,
literally.
right?
Yeah. And so that's always fun to see. But now I have 11 employees, an associate doctor that I added a year ago, and we just continue to rock and roll. And at this point in time, I actually still own 1,000 square feet in my building. That
empty.
Yes.
So you can expand.
It's not empty, but a medical doctor is in.
So you
that
can kick them
particular
out.
Practice. Yeah. So I would kick them out. But
So what's his name? His or her name?
Dr. Gittinger.
Dr. Gittinger.
Yes,
I think
get out of there. No.
your time's coming. Just so you know, okay. The days are numbered.
She probably isn't listening either,
Okay,
but thank goodness.
Okay, all right. So, all right. So that's a good story.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot to learn there. I would love for people to get back in touch with you and to kind of go in deeper. I know you'd love to do that. You like to speak. You're a trainer. You do a lot of stuff on the technology side, and there's more for you out there. I know that. You just got to put yourself out there a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. I want to talk to you about, you said a key word to me. You said associate.
Yes.
Okay. And I firmly believe that everyone listening needs to get an associate in their practice. I think the future of private practice dentistry, non-DSO corporate dentistry, is going to be multi-doctor. Okay. Whether they all own, whether it's a partnership, whether it's an associate, whatever it is, it's multi-doctor. The cost of owning a practice today is astronomical. technology mandatory, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000,
Every
depending
5 years.
depending how deep you want to go in.
Right.
Okay, and then that's just the way it is in our profession now. And it's always best to kind of subsidize that with multiple providers.
Yeah.
So when did you realize you needed an associate?
I didn't.
Okay.
So it just kind of happened, and it was something that I had thought about. But when your practice is your baby and you've done everything by yourself this whole entire time, so I had been 12 years, everything was mine. All my patients are mine. They're, I've grown this from this. It's mine. It's so hard to give that away or to have someone that just is going to come in and, are they going to like her or him as much? Are they going to trust her or him as much? Are they going to be okay with them? Yeah. And so when we decided, or when I decided to have an associate, it was a happen chance. It really was.
You weren't looking.
I really wasn't looking. I knew that I was speaking more.
Were you afraid of an associate?
A little bit, just because of the fact that, again, my practice was my baby. So to leave my practice or to
But didn't you think that was going to limit you not getting somebody else?
Yeah, I did. And that's why I was closed yet still open-minded about it. I was very...
You weren't active-minded
seeking.
about it.
Exactly.
Like, hey, if the certain person happened to just drop by, knock on the door and said, hey, hire me.
That's exactly how it happened, basically. I mean, it really was.
But that doesn't...
I put some feelers out, and that's,
And how'd you put feelers out?
So with my reps, mainly, And
so the value of a relationship with manufacturer reps, distributor reps, all of that stuff?
Any of the reps,
Incredible.
Yes. Yeah. And because they've known me for
And they know
13
who's
years.
out there. They know who's not looking, because the people looking for jobs kind of, hey, don't tell anybody, but I'm looking.
Right.
And that's how you find people.
Yeah. And the personalities, my reps know my personality. My reps have been my reps forever. And they've seen also the growth of the practice. They know how busy we are.
So trying to
that type
save
of thing.
pennies on supplies and equipment doesn't necessarily make you successful?
No.
I would argue that it inhibits you from being successful.
Yeah. I think that, if you nickel and dime absolutely everything, you can't see the bigger overall picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's, whenever you're looking towards the future and you have goals to be able to build upon and things that you want. I had wanted to speak for quite some time, and I was approached and was able, at that opportunity, it was the perfect time. I had just built my building. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, my building's been here for a year. I've got all the technology, we're rocking and rolling. I've got a great team, and I had the opportunity to do that. And then whenever Dr. Goodwin came on board, it's like I even have more of an opportunity to do it, just because of the fact that I know that my patients are still going to be well taken care of.
So what an associate does is it creates flexibility in your life.
100%.
Whether you choose to use that flexibility for business growth, personal growth, dreaming, family growth, marijuana, whatever it is, right?
Well, in Florida, it's coming.
But it gets you to choose that capability, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what I can't, I tell people, I get people, one of the most common questions I get is, how do you do big cases in a PPO driven practice? 80% of my practice is PPO, like in-network PPO. Choose me because I'm on the list. But yet we do quite a bit of larger cases. And I tell everybody, because I create the space in my schedule to do it. And they say, how do you do that? I said, I hired an associate. And I created that gap so I can rebuild a practice within a practice.
It's very true.
Have you seen that happen for you?
I have, definitely. And now Dr. Goodwin and I don't really share a lot of patients. Mm-hmm. So my patients are still, quote unquote, my patients. She'll do hygiene checks. Mm-hmm. We're growing her practice too.
Okay. But she's an associate, not a space sharer.
She's not a space sharer, correct.
Okay.
So it's been an interesting transition, because she started only with me for a day and a half, and now I'm only by myself on Wednesdays.
Okay. So she's there 3 days a week now.
She's now
4
there
days
4 days a week.
4 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so because of the way that it's transitioned in this last year, it's kind of just all happened organically, to be quite honest.
Have you been able to take more time off?
I have been.
Have you seen a drop in your income?
Not at all.
Have you seen an increase in your income?
Probably yes.
Probably yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen that you're less stressed at work?
I'm not a stressed person anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of blessed
Do you
that way. But I feel like that if I'm not there, I don't have to worry about who my patients are going to see when I'm not there.
You can take a vacation.
Yeah.
and not worry.
Yes.
You could take an extended vacation.
Right. And I don't have to worry about my cell phone ringing or, the girls calling me and saying this or that. But
what would you tell somebody who's got I'm just using up fake numbers here, okay? Million one practice, two hygienists, they're booked out a little bit. They've been doing this 10, 12 years and like, do I need an associate? Do not need associate? Retrospectively, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to get an associate tomorrow.
Okay.
Reason being is that I haven't worked any harder. Actually, I've worked less this year, as we were just talking about. My numbers are actually, $100,000 more than what I was last year, but I've taken way more time off. And that's not even including her numbers.
Right.
So, her numbers are kind
separate.
of her numbers separate.
Yeah.
And so it's just with the integration of obviously technology.
You have the flexibility to learn it and implement it and coach your team and train your team and do the cases. And when somebody says, hey, can we do this week? You can say yes.
Exactly.
It's all the unwritten things that you just don't think about.
And I think whenever you don't know the unknown, and I think that's why people get hesitant and that's why people get scared. And I think that if you have faith, like I said, it was just one of those things that I'm like, if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. And but planning is always good too.
Yeah.
I mean, never going to say not to plan, but when the right person comes along, if it's the right person, then it kind of meshes well.
I take a little bit of a different tack than that. I say we got to make it happen, and you just keep doing it until you find the right person.
Yeah.
You take chances.
And I was lucky because I found mine first off.
Yeah, I did not. I did not. But I have mine now.
And that's
all that matters. But it's perseverance.
Yeah.
Right? I knew this is what I needed to get to the level I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of going through the pain. All right. I couldn't have you on without getting a little commercial from you.
Okay.
So honestly, how has the sleep apnea class been from us?
All right. So I started in June. So last month I came to Dr. Elliott's class. She's an amazing person.
She's fantastic.
And she is a great speaker.
Yeah.
She's witty and smart and talented in all of the things that she does.
And she's down to earth.
She is 100% down to earth. And I think that's why I enjoy her so much because I feel like we're a lot alike. And but learning the sleep apnea implementation, Chelsea and I, my assistant and I were just talking about that. And so Chelsea and I were talking about how, bringing my assistant to the courses obviously has made a complete difference because we're able to get on board together. So when I told Chelsea we're coming to this class, and then in a month down the road, we're going to go to Hutan's medical billing class. And then, the next day we're going to do Sully's 3D class because we have all the technology. I feel like that once we get back, we're a implementation practice that we're going to be able to hit the ground running. And because you guys have the availability of giving what you have given as far as the class associations of, hey, medical billing with sleep apnea. A lot of people, the first medical billing class that I took 4 years ago, whenever I got my Galileos, it was kind of like,
overload.
A complete overload. Yeah. And so doing it the way that we have done with this, it makes sense, even though obviously, and I say obviously some of it's repetitive, but it's great because we needed a repetitive, even though we learned it a month and a half ago, it's not been repetitive to where you're like, oh my gosh, this is the exact same course. It's not at all. It's the same. It's
like watching a movie again.
Exactly. I mean, and it's not even, it's watching, a movie without just maybe hearing the sound without watching the actual screen, because you hear completely different things whenever you already know a little bit about it. And I think that's the big thing. But I've enjoyed you guys. You guys are all great speakers.
Thank
you guys
you.
have a very, very good chemistry between all of you.
Is it nice seeing my team in action and 100%. Being able to talk to them?
You guys are so positive. You've always been that way. I mean, ever since.
And somewhat real about it. You know, I hope my team will tell you the goods and bads about what's happening.
And I think that that's part of it, is that anytime you're a trainer, you have to, you can't stand up there and act like you're Superman or Superwoman. And it's unfortunate because people do. And I think that's one thing that I take into my trainings that I learned from you guys.
But
as
it's
trainers.
not Superman and Superwoman anymore. It's epic man, epic woman.
You're right. It's true. Right here. I'm looking right at the epic man.
So what'd you think about the sales funnel? Have you ever thought about that way?
So, Yes and no.
Okay.
And it's really true, because it's funny, right before that came on, Chelsea and I were talking about, what's going to be our goal before the end of the year. And Chelsea threw out the number of 50.
Yeah.
I mean, that was her. And she is, again, team member that's completely on board, that will guide. She's a leader. And I think that's what you have to have in a team. But once you have a team member that understands that whole funnel, that this is what we need to do to go where we're going, that it's going to benefit the practice, it's going to benefit everyone involved, and it's going to benefit our patients, needless to say.
Right.
And that's the greater good right there. But that, learning things like that, like just putting numbers into your head.
The exercise.
Because
we don't do it very often.
No, we don't.
We think about it, we think it out ahead, but when you put it on paper, and to me, the power is when you put it on paper in front of the team members and they see where you're getting this number and how you're getting it. They start to get the reality. Oh, this is possible.
This is possible.
Like they see it. They begin to. It's tangible.
It's true.
And that's why I believe in the sales funnel so important. Whatever procedure you want to do more of, you got to develop a sales funnel, and you just got to work through the numbers. You got to reverse engineer success.
It's true, and you have to also order a whiteboard from Amazon.
Have you noticed there's whiteboards everywhere in my life? Everywhere in my life. Down here, my office, all my walls are whiteboards.
All your walls are white right now. We could write on them completely.
Yeah, and up in the training center in my office, so everything. All right, so what are the challenges that Lyndsay McCaslin is facing?
I think the biggest challenge right now in the practice is we have a new hygienist, and it's just getting her completely on board. Most of my girls have been with me for quite some time. You always have patient challenges, I mean, the patients are always going to challenge you too a little bit. Challenges are time. Do you start looking at, should we expand into that other place, and
Yes.
those type of things, right? I knew that was going to be your answer.
Yes.
And so there's, I think if you're not growing, you're not being challenged.
Well, listen, you have to grow 3 to 5% per year, or you're going backwards.
You're exactly correct.
Cost of inflation.
It's true.
Bottom line.
Yep.
Team members want and need to make more. Things cost more. Life costs more. 3 to 5% per year growth, or you're going backwards.
Yep. And I think the biggest challenge really I feel like the biggest challenge is always just team and everybody just meshing together.
So people talk about team. How do you create a culture?
I think that once the team sees your vision, as a doctor, you have to have a vision of your practice. And I think that, again, like I said, I told you even previously that if you do right by your patients, they'll do right by you.
And if you do right by your team, they'll do right by you.
You're exactly correct.
Yeah.
And
I live under the motto. I learned it in 5th grade, I think it was. 5th grade, I remember one of my teachers, Mrs. Carr. She was my English teacher, I believe, in the 5th grade, and look, I'm not Christian, and didn't do it. She handed me this little wooden coin back when you could do this kind of stuff in school, and it said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," and it stuck with me. And I firmly believe that you treat people the way you want to be treated, and you tell people the truth, and you be transparent with them.
it's so true.
Okay, and tell them what you need of them.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you yes or no.
Exactly. And as we did that, today, it's if you can get your team on board to whatever it is your vision is, and if you can, or ask your team what their vision is, I think that's also very important. What do they want? What are they seeing?
We lose touch with reality
practice?
as high income earners.
Yeah.
I remember clearly. I was trying to develop a bonus plan for my team, and I was thinking, God, how do I help them make $2,000 more per month? And one of my team members said to me, "What happened to $200-300? That would be a big deal for me."
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, God, I never because I don't even think that way, right?
Right.
And so sometimes you just gotta ask them what they want, what they're thinking, what do they think would be fair.
And I think it's really important to occasionally ask your team what's great about our practice, but also what are the things you hate about our practice. Because I think that's the main thing that I learned about my uncle's practice. I love him obviously to death, but there were certain things that I was like, when I get my own practice, there is no way,
your culture,
shape, or form that I'm doing this.
Generation gap.
Yeah. Technology obviously is
everything.
all different.
The male, female, all that kind of stuff.
But when you have team members that are invested in your practice, they're going to tell you, I love this about our practice, but I'd love to see this change. And then I did that challenge of what would you like to see about our practice change, and then I made them give me solutions back. They couldn't just say, I don't like this.
Yeah, they got to have solutions.
They have
Don't
to have
tell me the problem
solutions.
without the solution.
Exactly. Right. And so I think keeping that open mindset, keeping obviously team meetings, keeping the communication open, I think that's the best thing that you can do for your teams.
Absolutely. So we have the segment, it's Ask T-Bone. You got any questions for me? Anything I can help you with?
Well, first of all, I wanted to know what color you dyed your beard.
Okay. No, that's okay. Listen, I don't have any hair on my head anymore. I'm male pattern baldness. Okay. I go to a barbershop, like an old school, like African American barbershop. I get my head shaved and my face shaved every week. Okay. Like you guys do your nails and stuff. Right. I do my face and head, okay? And I was there, and I was just asking him about things. I was looking around, seeing what he got, because they don't have any signs on the wall saying what services they offer, which I kind of tell him it's dumb, but, I just go with it. And he says, I was like, what is that? He's like, oh, man, we dye hairs. I'm like, could you dye I was jokingly said, could you dye my goatee? And he said, sure, man, what do you want to do? I said, all right, let's try it. I said, don't make it jet black. Okay, I don't want it to be jet black. So he's like, all right, I'll pick a color in the middle, and we did it, and it looked it looked black to me. Okay,
it was black,
and it was a little bit. I felt self-conscious about it. The good news is, a couple of weeks later, it was gray again. So,
there you are.
But it wasn't jet black.
It wasn't jet black.
Yeah, it wasn't jet black.
All right,
that's good.
Just black.
I appreciate that.
Black.
Well, listen, I'll go with it.
I think that my I've known you more and more as the days have gone by. Needless to say, but I think I've always obviously been very impressed by what you've done.
That's amazing. Thank you.
And so I think that whenever you got out of dental school, did you think that was this your vision? Was this, as we were talking about visions of practices and teams and all those different things, were you just somebody that wanted a dental practice, or was this what you really thought things were going to happen, the way they were going to happen?
My vision was to have a business. Okay. My initial vision when I got out of school was to open multiple offices, create like a franchise, whatever it was. And then I got into practice and I got hit in the chin, and it wasn't as easy as I thought. I was very open about sharing my stuff on, at the time, Dental Town, which has been unbelievably important in my career. Howard Fran, Dental Town, unbelievably important. And I shared stuff, and I would read articles. I just became a sponge, probably because I graduated in the bottom third of my dental school class. So I didn't sponge up anything there, so I had to sponge it up in the real life. And I shared, put myself out there, got invited, wanted to be an educator. Enjoyed it, enjoyed helping others succeed. There was a little bit of an ego involved in it of being able to do that. Certainly, I'm not going to lie about that. And one thing led to another. And it turned out that I have a business, not multiple practices, but multiple businesses.
That's true.
And so I always knew I was going to do business. I always had the arrogance / confidence, whatever you want to call it, that I was going to be okay, because reasonable personality, reasonable drive, reasonable everything, that I was willing to work hard.
And that was one of your best attributes, I'm sure.
Yeah, perseverance. I just confidently know that I was going to make it. I was going to be successful no matter what I did. I definitely hit some bumps along the way, and would hit some bumps along the way. But did I envision all this? No, you can't. But I've always said, well, I live by a philosophy of replace yourself. Yeah. And whatever I do, you see it. You see it. Yeah. We talked about with my. I shared about my assistant Liz, Meredith, Whitney, myself with my associate, myself with Sully, Hutan, Aaron. All of these things are conceptually about replacing yourself so that you can help others, but also it can free me to focus on whatever comes. And maybe nothing comes. But I always believe that you create emptiness. Like I remember I wanted to add another operatory in my practice. And my Patterson rep said, you don't need another operatory. I said, I do. He says, but you don't need it. You don't use all the ones you have. I go, listen, I'll walk by that operatory every single day and be like, I spend money on this. What do I got to do to fix it? I believe when you create a gap, when you fill a hole, when you create a problem, you find a solution to that problem. So that's been it. And I will tell you, anybody that wants to be a speaker, a trainer, you have got to put yourself out there. I would argue that it's easier than ever to be a speaker and trainer. It's harder than ever to distinguish good from not so good, from fakers and posers, from not so, from good people. But it's just got to put yourself out there. That's what I would say.
Awesome.
Lindsay, how can people get in touch with you?
Can
they slide into your DMs?
They can.
Okay.
They can.
Which mediums?
I'm on Facebook, Expressions Dentistry. I'm on Instagram, Lyndsay McCaslin. And of course, through our Expressions Dentistry website, of course, I'm a mentor as well, Henry Shine trainer too.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different avenues, I guess, to get a hold of me.
All right. Do you have an email address?
I do. It's L McCaslin, DMD, so LMCCASLIN, DMD at yahoo.com.
In the Tampa area.
In the Tampa area.
Lindsay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was
You're
a
the
pleasure.
best.
Always.
All right.